This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And well, you know what? We continue to have games played in Sweden that, they involve players like Joakim Nygard, who just so happens to be absolutely tearing things up over there in Sweden all of a sudden in his last set of games. What is it? Last 6 games, he's just been on an absolute tear. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, get ready to listen all about Nygard and how he complicates things for the Oilers as he did last year. But before you do that, if you're new to the channel, take the next 10 minutes or so to consider hitting that subscribe button here on the channel. And with that, let's talk about Joakim Nygard, who's had 6 goals in his last 6 games, and an assist as well to go 7 points in that stretch, and a guy that really could have been integral to the Oilers' offense this past year if he would have been fully healthy at any point. I honestly am in the camp of belief that Joakim Nygard was never at full health at any point for the Oilers this past season. And of course, right, I think it was the rib or stomach injury, and then obviously the hand injury, and then he had another injury to the same hand just this past fall. So Joakim Nygard now looking to finally have regained form. Of course, he was pretty good over there in the SHL prior to coming over to the Oilers last season, so it's nice to see him kind of regain that form and of course regain confidence right in time for the NHL season to begin. We're talking he's got to be in Edmonton in about 11 days time, so he's technically got to be there within, I don't know, he'll be on a flight probably by December 20th or so at bare minimum from Sweden over to Calgary, then routing up to Edmonton. So for Joakim Nygard, that's going to be kind of the logistics of how I'd imagine it plays out. But the lowest paid Edmonton Oiler on the roster of 15 currently on Cap Friendly at $875,000, a guy that brings invaluable pieces of work to the Edmonton Oilers forward group. I honestly, you look at how Gaetan Haas and Joakim Nygard played last year. Nygard's a guy who sneakily draws great power play opportunities for the team, and I think there was some kind of ratio where it's like 50% of the penalties Nygard drew this past year, the Oilers scored. That's a stat I'm trying to pull out of my butt, but like if you can actually take a look at those data somewhere, I'm sure it's like that, because I remember quite often Joakim Nygard drawing a key penalty and the Oilers scoring a key power play goal right after. So for Nygard, he's a guy that brings that winning attitude to the team. And how does he do that? Drawing penalties. And he's a guy also that is capable, as we're seeing in the SHL, of scoring some goals, and at the same rate scoring goals in the NHL level. He had 3 goals, 6 assists, and 9 points in 33 games. If you go and say he's not fully healthy all 33 of those games, well, suddenly 9 divided by 33, you multiply that by 1.4, and you get up to a .38 points per game average at full health for Nygard in a 56 game season. That's 22 points, and you are kidding me if on the 4th or 3rd line you would not take 22 points out of Joakim Nygard in this upcoming season at $875,000 against the cap. I think that's an absolute bargain. Now the issue is figuring out how to juggle the roster and get Nygard that full playing time, and there's only a couple of places to do that. Obviously Tyler Ennis, he's got $1 million against the cap, but he is going to be a roster player for this Edmonton Oilers team. Anywhere else, Dominic Cahoon, going to be a roster player in the top 6. Jujhar Khaira, going to be a roster player for this Oilers team unless traded, and that's really the only place you can find a situation where Joakim Nygard gets to draw any major time on this Oilers team, whether it be on the 3rd or 4th line. Joakim Nygard has that chance to be there if only if Jujhar Khaira really gets traded, unless something crazy goes on at camp. And that's the hard part, is we're talking about guys being back to NHL hockey on December 23rd, probably on the 26th, 27th, after Christmas is officially done. But you talk about that, right? Bing, bang, boom. Well, 27th to the January 13th. That's a total of 17 days before puck drop, or 16 before and then puck drop the 17th. that is a lot of room for somebody to get injured. And if somebody's going to capitalize on that based on what we're seeing on this little mini heater that Joakim Nygard's on in the SHL, it's going to be Joakim Nygard. And, well, where's he going to do it? Whether it be on the third line with a guy like Puljujarvi and Turris, or whether it be on the fourth line with a Haas and an Archibald, or whoever he finds, a James Neal on that fourth line, right? There are a lot of questions as to how you properly build this Oilers roster. And let me tell you, perhaps the best thing we could do is dump James Neal on the New Jersey Devils at this point and try to free ourselves of I'm not worried about the contract. Everybody keeps saying you got to buy out that contract. No, you know what? Honestly, the roster fit is not there if you look at this Oilers team as many ways as you possibly can. Is we want to really build something that's going to win? Well, you know what? Zach Kassian, we're tied to him for the next 4 years at 3.2, and for what he brings, that's great. You don't want to trade Alex Chiasson because he's great on the power play. Well, that's about realistically the only place James Neal was effective last year. So, you know what? If we can find a way to dump James Neal on the New Jersey Devils, suddenly, maybe that's a video topic. Suddenly, Joakim Nygard does have a lot clearer of a path to playing on this Oilers team, because the right side is a very complicated mess with James Neal and Alex Chiasson in there. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later on today. So that's that. That takes care of that. But now, what do you have to do to really see Joakim Nygard succeed with the Oilers? Is I don't think Dave Tippett has to do anything. And the way Dave Tippett deployed Joakim Nygard last year up and down the lineup, give that speed boost to whatever line. Well, now all of a sudden you've got Jesse Puljujarvi, who does have some legs himself. You've got Dominic Cahoon in the top six, so that solidifies things, playing alongside either Draisaitl or McDavid. And then you've got Kailer Yamamoto up there as well. That means Joakim Nygard can be given a line. He can be given a third or fourth line role and be told to do one thing well, go up and down the ice with good speed and good hands and shoot the puck. You tell Joakim Nygard to do that. I think that's what they're doing in the SHL. He's going to be just dandy for us this season. And I mean, like I said, if you do the math and he comes out with 22 points in 56 games, we're all laughing at $875K this year. So that's the fun part for Oilers fans, is it could be a very interesting next little bit here for Joakim Nygard and the Edmonton Oilers, depending what he does to finish up his time in Sweden, and of course then what he can do going the rest of the way through Oilers camp, and hopefully maybe taking advantage of an injury or not an injury, and just taking advantage of a good camp and getting into the lineup and getting a chance to succeed well, fully healthy. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my arguments on Joakim Nygard. I'm Tyson Dolany TV. I tried to get out of here. I'm up on out of here.